Labor Day is over. That means it is the beginning of budget season, RFP season, lots of stuff, Anthony. How exciting is that?
Is it September?
It is. Oh my God. So let's get to it.
I'm Anthony. Welcome to No Vacancy Live. That's my friend Glenn.
You're watching the #1 show in hospitality. Everybody, welcome to No Vacancy Live. That's Anthony Melchiori. I'm Glenn Hausman, and this is the first live show I'm doing in a week or so. So I feel like this is all strange and different.
I like how you said you and not we, because we go weeks sometimes without me being on.
No, I said me because I'm the one who feels strange and unfamiliar. You're an old pro. You don't know. You don't get it.
Yeah, and I'm going to say something I say about once a year. We need to redo the front of our promo.
I've been saying it like every other day, but I've been too busy not doing it to get it done. So there is that.
Yeah, we'll just talk about it. It's more fun if we just talk about it. RFP season stands for rather.
I don't know.
Go on vacation.
Yeah, I would much rather go on vacation, but the fact is,
it means request for
proposal. That's
I'd rather go on vacation.
That's right. So we're heading into what's commonly known as RFP season, budget season, all of these types of things, and that's why we're going to bring back one of our resident experts here. One of my favorite guests, Cesar Wurm. He's VP Commercial and Premium Brands with IHG. And Cesar, it's great to see you. I love whenever we talk about numbers and stuff like that, how enthusiastic you get. So welcome.
Thank you. Great to be here with you. Thanks again. Good seeing you both.
Yeah, it's good to see you.
Yes,
and
sir.
So let's just hit it right now real quick before we get into a lot of conversation. Where are we going to be in RevPAR next year? Let's see. Everybody has a different answer.
Yeah. Well, I think it's going to be somewhat similar to this year, right? I think I'm in line with most projections we're seeing, which is probably a 2 to 3% increase. But again, at the end of the day, who knows, right? It's like anyone's guess, the best guess. But yeah, feeling good about next year. I don't think it's going to be anything crazy to either side.
Yeah, that's what everybody's saying. I think it went up, then it went down, and about 2.5. But you know what? If I have to tell the truth, I always say 2.5, 3%. If you say 2.5, 3%, you really can't get yourself in too much trouble.
Well, that is true.
Very smart move. Hey, so this show is going to be filled with a lot of tips and genuine gold like that over there for sure. Cesar, one of the things that I hear the people on the news all talking about is general sentiment, how they feel about the economy and all of that kind of stuff. How are people feeling these days about the business of hotels from the customer point of view? I'm talking, groups and airlines and all of these kinds of things.
Yes. Yeah. Overall, pretty positive. I think there's always a little bit of both perspectives that you can hear. But I think in general, the feedback and the sentiment that we get out there is pretty positive from regards that despite what's going on from a short-term perspective or what we've been hearing about the economy, inflation, listen, the fundamentals of the industry is pretty solid, right? And I think the beauty of our business is that whenever one segment may go down a little bit or cool down, then the other may make up. So I think what we've seen this year is a perfect example. Leisure has kind of settled a little, right? From that nice fast recovery. People price sensitivity was very low because we all been kind of stuck. But then you're seeing that a little bit more temper, still very, very solid. But then also from a group perspective has been amazing. Right, really good group rate growing, getting closer to the transient side from an upper scale and luxury perspective. So that is something that is very positive for us.
Do you think the work from home is affecting groups because more companies are saying, listen, we got to get our people together and a lot of companies don't have big offices anymore, so they don't have a place to put them. So they have them now in hotels. Are you seeing that, or am I making that up?
No, I think that's part of it, right? I think with the hybrid work, some companies, to your point, have lessened their square footage of leasing, or it depends, right? What segment you're talking about. There may be more or less restrictive from that side. So I think that is true, where there is a little bit more, hey, listen, we miss a little bit of that connectivity. We still need to hold the culture. So how can we bring everyone together? And instead of that heavy, transient travel that used to occur all the times, a little bit more clustered in small groups.
Yeah, I've got something to say here on groups. According to Nolan and Amadeus, they put out a report just a couple of weeks ago. Group businesses delivered 7 consecutive quarters of growth, which is amazing. And it's the first time the overall index has exceeded 100%, which they say reflects continued health across all reported areas. In fact, 22 of the 25 top U.S. meeting markets have achieved 100% or more in overall performance compared to the same time of last
year. That can't be true, Glenn. That can't be true, because we had experts on this show a couple of years ago saying groups will never come back. So that can't be true.
that is true. They said that. And they're also the same people that said I'd have to see hand sanitizer everywhere, and now I can't find it when I want it. Top meeting market in terms of growth, Las Vegas. Mm-hmm. All right, so anyone's really surprised there. Anybody want to try to guess number 2 and number 2, which is going to be impossible?
Number 2 will be impossible
for you to guess. Yeah.
Charlotte.
No, didn't make the list. I'll give you guys one more guess.
Did, but you said it was going to be hard. So
it is. You got to think of another.
Newark, New Jersey.
Well, I know, now that Dave's over there, I know like everyone's going.
It's exploding.
Yeah.
I would say Nashville.
That's number 3. Number 2 is Seattle. And get this, number 4 is Detroit. So
Seattle? Talk to me about Seattle. What's going on in Seattle?
Growth of the meeting business. So if you only had, 10 meetings or something like that, and you book 25, you got a huge
increase.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. He's on the lift, right? The lift of the business. Yeah. San Francisco will get there.
So Cesar, where are we with, we know in this industry, RFP season has changed dramatically in the last 10 years of kind of how it's done. So bring us through, for those people that don't understand RFP season, how it works and where it is today compared to where it was, a while ago. Like, as far as the rates and how the rates are dynamic and all that
stuff.
So give a lesson a little bit.
Yeah, exactly. So RFP season, when we talk in our industry, is mostly on the transient side, where we enter that cycle, to your point, that really starts around June or so. And historically used to end about, you pick, right, September or October, where most companies would source. So let's say you pick like any large company that a Coca-Cola or whatever is the example. So they provide a request for bids for the markets that they expect to travel the most and the partners they would like to consider. And then every hotel in those markets kind of submit their best and what they would like to have. That so a lot of times would be, to your point, historically used to be static rates, meaning that was either a rate for the year or per season, depending on the market, right? There are some markets that are very seasonal, so there is 2, 3, or 4 seasons, and that was how it was done. And then the Coca-Cola in this example would say, okay, your rate sounds great, or hey, you gotta revise and do better than that. And then there's the opportunity for rebid and make the cut or not. And what is really crucial for hotels is that in a market where your top accounts, producing accounts in the market, where we have visibility of that, you want to make sure, depending on the hotel type, the sub-market that you are, it's very important to get into a program where there is a big volume. It could be make or break situation for some hotels, while for others could be a plus. Or sometimes, listen, a hotel is in great shape. I don't need that much volume, so I'll put really what I can live with. And if they take, awesome. If not, I'm okay walking right away. And then over the last few years, really to your point, Anthony, we have moved to a more dynamic situation where it's still a win-win proposition to the customers and hotels for the most part, because really takes into account that, hey, we've seen a lot of changes recently from either economical, pandemic, or just in the course of the business, where either rate and market really overperform or underperform. So if you have a static rate, you could be, really in trouble either as the company or the hotel, and vice versa. So the dynamic rate is almost like an insurance policy for everyone. It's like, listen, we'll give you a X% of discount, 5, 7, 10% discount for this market, for this hotel, from our best selling rate. So this way you get a value proposition while you're still protected that you're not going to be overpaying or be, not properly priced for that market.
Is last room availability a thing anymore?
From the so it's still, there's a lot of people that still request. I think that people understand that it's very hard for hotels to do that and really do a proper kind of bid, because you could be leaving a lot of money on the table. So yes, there is less and less common. I think that people understand more the yielding side of the business. But you see that from time to time. And
you're typically just a very long-standing client. And one of the things that I think we got short-sighted for in the business, and I don't know how it is now, but where we're doing good, so we push our clients away. We're doing bad, so now we beg our clients.
Yes.
And when I worked with IHG, they always did a really good job of managing that relationship. And I remember from top down, it was never like that. At least in my experience, it wasn't like that. Like people were treated fairly, and they weren't treated like, oh, we're not hungry now, so now it was always from the top down, from everybody I remember, the executive level down, that they really manage their corporate business properly. Because when you don't need the business is the time where you build those relationships.
Exactly. And I think if you take a fair approach to your point, right? If you take all considerations, you create that relationship that, listen, you may not be happy to hear our take on the business, right? And vice versa. But if it's all based on data, to your point, with respect and mutual understanding, you can really have a very good relationship. And to your point, ensure that have the longevity, because some years we have the upper hand, some years we don't, so why not make something that it can really be beneficial for everyone.
And when you have the upper hand, that's the time to kind of really show respect. And sometimes you take a little bit on the chin just to show that even when we're busy, we're going to do the right thing, and it goes a long way. It goes a long way.
Exactly.
So, Cesar, how are you working with maybe some younger folks out there in order to get them to be able to create RFPs that make sense to the owner of the hotel and the brands that they're hoping to have stay with them?
Yes. Yeah. So over the last couple of years, we really seen an influx of new talent, which is much needed. And I think that is good for us, right? As an industry, I think we do continue to do a better job to attract more and more talent. Also with that comes the need for education. And so I think we're very methodical and thoughtful on how and when to engage and support our hotels from a decision-making perspective. So we ensure that we're providing as much data as we possibly can, that we are very open and can share everything that we see from, hey, this is what we should expect this year. We would like to see this much progress from our rates or contribution from this segment. So then it helps the hotels to have a better understanding and apply that to their market. And then, of course, we do have teams that work with the hotels hand in hand. And then that's when we really get into the minutia, meaning it's like, hey, you need help to understand this account. Let's making sure that we're making the best possible decision because we can see there's this much business, we're getting this share, we should be getting this share, and so on. So to your point, we try to balance as much as we can from ensuring that we're capturing the share, the right share, and also being thoughtful from an owner's perspective because we know how much pressure there is on the cost side of things nowadays.
Yeah, when you first came in this business and today, have you seen a significant difference on that pressure, especially for general managers, that it's no longer only about servicing the client and the employee, but you better learn how to read a P&L pretty quick in your career. I don't care if you're a first-year general manager. If you don't understand revenue management and P&L review, you got a problem.
Couldn't agree more. Yeah, I started my career in the late 90s. And to your point, big difference in how a hotel operates from the side of the financials, the understanding. And I think this comes along also with the ownership groups, a lot of investments that have been done. And I think has shifted a little bit to your point, is really understanding the mid of the P&L. Not only, of course, you got to be pretty well versed in the top line generation, regardless of your background, if you came from F&B or rooms division or revenue generation, but then also really quickly understanding how to optimize the cost because that's a big.
And I remember coming up in my career, and I think a lot of people my age who've been doing this a long time, is you fall in love with the building and the operation, and you fall in love with the team.
Yeah.
And you can't understand, even like when somebody sells a hotel, you feel betrayed, right? It's like, this is our family member. You can't sell our hotel. So when I came up, it's like I didn't understand the finances of a hotel. And then all of a sudden I did. I got a really good education in it. Yeah. But I think there's a really good balance of both when you're early on in your career. If you didn't go to Cornell and you didn't go to the best schools and you come in and you start from the bottom, sometimes you lose the perspective of the finances. So early on, there's got to be a real good mixture of the operational love, but also the respect for the finances.
Well said. Well said.
All right, so Cesar, I got a question for you. Again, talking about these RFPs, we're really moving into a world where we're not just talking about RevPAR anymore, particularly among premium brands that you work with. So we're starting to focus more on how much maybe customers are individually spending on property with and beyond room rate. Is that kind of notion coming into RFPs now, that there's some sort of other on-property spend with food and beverage, perhaps that's included in an overall package of ideas as opposed to just going on room rate alone?
Yes, you're correct. I think over the last few years as well, not just from the evolvement side of the RFP, I think as an industry, we became thankfully better from that aspect. I think there's still a lot of opportunity for us to really be very good at the total revenue yield management as an industry, but we've gotten better because, to your point, over last, let's say 5 or 7 years ago, it was solely for the most part about room revenue because you didn't have that much insight to truly measure extremely well from a holistic point of view. But as systems evolved, as machine learning, AI comes in, so have our systems evolved, and it became much better to see and understanding the site. So you can have, hey, with this account, we're able to capture X amount of breakfast. They spend in general this much in ancillary revenue. So then you get an understanding to see, to your point, it's like, hey, it may be better for me to walk away from this company that may pay me $5 more on average, but this one gives me another, $30 on high yielding revenue, whatever the case may be. So yes, that definitely is a factor. And but again, we have opportunities to do better, and also, as has sustainability, especially from an RFP perspective, that has become a very popular and hot topic.
You anticipated my next question. What do companies want beyond a good rate? So commitment to sustainability would be one of them. So
yes,
why do they care so much these days, and how are you hoping your hotels are satisfying that desire?
Yeah, well, this is my personal take, right? I think it's really two reasons. I think one, people want to do better. I think as human beings, we know what we know now, and we want to make sure that we do whatever we can to be a good citizen. But then also, thankfully, from a public side of eyes, even from an investor's perspective, sustainability has become very important for many reasons. And it's great to see that a lot of companies are really moving, either considering heavily to have very tangible metrics, as our hotels need to report on how we're doing from a sustainable. So it's just not, hey, we don't use little shampoo bottles anymore, right? Great, that's great. But how much water we're saving, what is the processes, and really be able to report on actual data that we track. And then you're seeing companies that are even a little bit more forward-looking, where they're truly giving their team members almost like a carbon footprint budget, where it's like, okay, you have your financial travel budget, but then also you can have a carbon footprint that you got to take into account when planning your trips and your overall travel. So that has becoming more and more.
Yeah, interesting. So beyond sustainability, what are some of the things that customers, Fortune 500, Fortune 1000 companies are looking for when they're making deals that just go beyond the price on a piece of paper?
Yeah, really two things comes to mind. One is the well-being of their people, meaning they just want to make sure that whatever you have in your hotels can support their best kind of lifestyle. So from an F&B offering, from an ability to disconnect and recharge. So it doesn't mean that you have to have a spa or anything like that, but just be very thoughtful on the offerings that you have, regardless of the tier of each brand, to ensure that people can recharge, because we all know we all travel a lot. While it's a lot of fun and it recharges you, when you do it nonstop, it can be pretty taxing, right, on you, either mentally or physically.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, so that's one piece, and then the other piece is really ensure that not only hotels but even travel agencies and airlines, that we're optimizing technology to facilitate changes, right? If you look a few years ago, if you're in trouble, if your flight canceled, it would be hard, right, to quickly readjust. Now you can quickly do in your app to change your flight, change your hotel, talk to your hotel, hey, I'm going to arrive later, on text. So really ensure that you provide the ability for people to communicate and engage with you however they want to.
That's awesome. Anthony?
Yeah, as a business traveler, one of the things that is the most frustrating thing, and we all run into it, is the hours of operations. A lot of hotels have changed, right? There's no lunch, there's no room service, the dinner closes at 10 o'clock. And I think it was one of your hotels where I walked into the lobby. It was a big hotel, and they had one of these vending machines. And you literally used your room key or your credit card, and it was a refrigerator. So if I wanted a sandwich or a salad, it was almost like a little kitchen behind a glass wall. And anytime you took something off the shelf, it automatically charged you, and had cameras all within the frame of the refrigerator. And I appreciated that, because there's nothing worse than arriving at 11 o'clock at night, and now you have to call Uber Eats, or you have to go look for something. And so I appreciate that. But do you find that from a corporate standpoint, that when you're signing a contract, they're demanding the hours of operations for the restaurants is important?
Yes, it is important, especially depending the type of business. So let's say for an airline crew, for example, that is extremely important, right? Depending on the time they arrive and they leave. But generally speaking, you're exactly right. I think regardless of the initiatives that are put in place, either it's a market specific because the labor cost is so high, the capture for lunch is not good enough to support operating, at least on break even or profitable level, is really ensure that at least there are good options for the customer, right? Either in-house or with a partner. So to your point, at least you have that option and you don't feel like, okay, I arrive here, there's nothing, this sucks, right?
Yeah. I was actually at an economy branded extended stay hotel. They said they're making a good amount of money off of selling stuff in the little store that they have there. Things that people could heat up real quick to eat, snacks and that sort of stuff. So just big things for every hotel you're out there. That's always a way to earn some extra cash.
Okay, can I throw a little wrench in things, and we don't have to talk about if you don't want to, but destination fees. What's the new? Because I saw them kind of leave a little bit. People got upset about them. There's all kinds of problems, political lawsuits, all that stuff. And now I'm starting to see them come back with a vengeance.
Yeah.
So basically, if you're a full service hotel, is there always going to be a destination fee?
Not necessarily. I think it's very dependent on the market, the offerings, and at the end of the day comes the value, right? So I think to your point, there was a big opportunity within the industry to ensure that, hey, that we're transparent with it, right? So I think a lot of the examples you mentioned forced us to do good change, because I think from a customer perspective, the worst feeling we have is when you purchase something thinking, hey, this is all right. What I see is what I get and what I pay for. And then suddenly, hey, surprise, surprise. And right. I think it's great when it's like, listen, you want to come here? Great. This is the rate. This is the additional fee, which includes X, Y, and Z, which then in turn, there should be a very good value for the customer and something that they wouldn't get anyway, right? So it's not like, hey, okay, you get access to the free gym that you get regardless. So
what I'm seeing is they're basically charging you, like giving you, say, $25, but you can use it in breakfast and you can use it at the bar. So all it's doing is incentivizing you to stay in the building. So basically, you say I was going to go get breakfast anyway. I was going to get a drink. That was going to cost me at least $25. So I see that makes sense to me, right?
Right.
I won't be upset about something like that. But like you said, I remember not too long ago, I was talking to a person that runs a pretty big hotel in Vegas, and they were kind of frustrated about the resort fee, the destination fee. And he said, Anthony, listen to this. He goes, on our resort fee destination, we literally say you get free local phone calls.
And a free newspaper, probably. Right?
That is awesome.
Remember when people used to use the phone in the room?
Yes, I do. Actually, it's funny. I laugh every time, I get checked in and I see the phone. I always I wonder how many people actually use this pipe just for in-house calls.
Right. One of the major casino resorts with the resort fee offers a free notary service as part of it. So I wanted to just go and get shit notarized to get my my stuff, feel like I'm getting a good value over there. Cesar, before we wrap up, what can people do to make their RFP stand out against competitors that might be giving a similar proposition?
Great point, and glad you asked. I think it's really kind of slow down sometimes, because I think we get caught up in our day-to-day. We always have a lot to do.
Uh-oh.
He had something to do, so he had to leave.
Wait, hold up, Cesar, you got cut off. Please start that again. You had a little internet hiccup there.
Sorry.
Yep.
So yeah, I'm glad you asked, because I think that a lot of times we can get caught up on our day to day, and so I don't think it's ill intent or anything, but a lot of times we can just kind of start replying to the the questions and not really give a lot of thought in hey, if I were in this customer's shoes, what would be really good for them to know about my hotel, my location? How is that value to them, not to what you think you should be telling them? So I think that's sometimes what we hear from customers, that, hey, yes, your hotel may reply really quick and that's great, but the response is not where it should be. So I think it's really ensure that, hey, reflect and put yourself in their shoes. It's like, hey, if I was working for that company, how would I feel if I got this response today? Would it be pretty accurate, pretty complete, or it feels like super transactional? Because I think that's one of the beauty of our industry, is that we have the ability to connect with people. And I think we got to honor that and ensure that we always keep this hospitality and that engagement, and don't lose that human side of things.
Yeah, and I think that you just said the most important thing that we can teach our young people coming to this business is to talk, right? When we were growing up in this industry, I don't remember anybody having to give me a lesson on how to talk to somebody, right? And
Yeah.
our number one thing that we've lost, like we were just talking the other day, over the weekend, I was having a barbecue, and we were laughing about kids can't write or read cursive, right? They have no idea how to read a map. They barely know how to tell time because they have digital watches. But at the end of the day, the thing that they're losing the most is when you have that uncomfortable moment, whether it be with a guest or a client or just a friend, instead of just going to grab your phone, having to engage. And that, to me, I think the brands could really do a good job. And really, we got to get off the computer training, and we got to get people to learn how to talk face to face and get through those very awkward moments.
Well said. Well said.
Because when you're selling a client, there's an art to it. I'm not good at it. People say I'm a great salesperson. I'm not a good salesperson. I just know how to BS. But when you're trying to close an account, it's really an art, and it's a little bit of a science, and it's a little bit. But I would imagine today's day and age, coming up as a salesperson, training salespeople must be a little bit more challenging than it was.
Yes. Yeah. And I think the beauty as well is that if you get people that have that talent, passion, the ability, right, that curiosity to learn, they can shine. Because to your point, if you are really care and can connect with people, I mean, your differentiation level just grow exponentially versus 15 years ago, where a lot of people would do that fairly well.
Yeah.
All right. Awesome. Cesar, thanks, man. Really appreciate
It's
you.
always great seeing you, Cesar.
Yeah.
Always a pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Just hang out backstage for a second. I want to ask you something afterwards. All right. Hey, everybody. Thanks so much for watching. I'm looking forward to a great fall. We'll be giving you lots of great shows over here, and you're not going to want to miss it. So be sure to follow us wherever you get your social media and wherever you download your podcast. We are there. And of course, all shows are housed at novacancynews.com. So remember, everyone, you've got one life, the blaze on, and
be kind to yourself.
See y'all later. Bye-bye.